Attention, all curious minds, innovators, and trendsetters. It's time to pause, lean in, and get ready for an extraordinary journey as we dive deep into the fascinating realms of life, technology, entertainment, and business. Let's explore, learn, and grow together. Brace yourselves, for the next thrilling episodes of Hipther Talks is about to take off. Counting down from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And here we go.
Hi everyone, Zoltan here. We're back again this week with Hipther Talks, and this time we have an interesting guest. I was ranting a couple of weeks ago on LinkedIn about how many of the, let's say, iGaming industry podcasts that have popped up have 10, 15 episodes and they disappear, always have the same guests. Probably they're working with the same PR company, handing them their guests, and they're always so serious about things. And I mean, we don't have to be to make fun of the podcast, of course, but we are here to entertain, guys. We're not here to sit like in a sober state and pretend that we are something that we are not. So yeah, and it was interesting to see the comments there, and our guest, who I'm introducing you now, Jim Preedy. Hi Jim, nice to have you here.
Hello.
Has also commented on that post, and he was excited to see that you don't need to be a sponsor or work with I don't know which PR agency to get on the Hipther Talks podcast, because that's what we do, guys. We give the chance to the opportunity for everyone to join. And believe me, we have been turning down some of these big, huge ego fed guys. So yeah, after reading his bio, it was like a no-brainer for us to have him on board. So Jim, we have this tradition here on the Hipther Talks podcast that we like to give the opportunity for our guests to say a few words about themselves in their own words, of course, not us reading a bio. And yeah, guys, I need to share that Jim has had some awful weeks. Now he just told me about some of the happenings in his life, and it takes a lot of courage and to be here today, given the fact. But yeah, let's keep this between us. All right, Jim, so tell us about yourself.
Okay, so yeah, I'm Jim Preedy, and I run a company called Concept Gaming, which was set up in the iGaming industry 14 years ago. But prior to my joining gaming, I travelled from the Midlands in the UK to Cardiff to study podiatry. So I became a foot doctor. At the same time as that, so we're talking 1992, it was the big early rave scene in the UK. So I was a raver. Raving was life, as well as feet at the time. And so I got involved with lots of raves and clubs, and I spent my money, my student grant, on a set of turntables, got into DJing. And so at the same time as doing feet, on the weekends I was DJing. I became quite a well-known DJ that we'll talk about some more. And that went on for many, many, many years. And and then I got into gaming, actually around about early 2000s. First of all, mobile gaming, and also making games for things called Itbox machines and these kind of terminals that you play in pubs and clubs around the UK. And I'm still in gaming, and I'm still doing dance music. And as you just opened with, I'm getting through a crazy life as well. You know, my mother just passed away in the last few weeks. A friend of mine that I walked to school with in the mornings was murdered. And my best friend had a heart attack on Saturday. So I'm sitting here smiling through it all and getting on and doing all this because also I've got a beautiful little daughter. She's 9 years old, and you've got to just keep on going and keep on going and keep on going. And I've got a lot of exciting things going on in my life. So I've got to be thankful. So
all right,
that's a little bit about me.
Stay strong, and I hope that our listeners are also going to send you some encouraging messages because you need it, my friend. Yeah, this was 92. And wow, did you know then that you were starting two careers at once, like DJing, podiatrist, and then, or
No,
did you think that is going to be a phase?
no. I just see. I lived in the Midlands in the UK, and there was a big rave scene there. So I was going to the raves while I was doing my A levels. Then I moved to Cardiff to do my degree, and I thought the rave scene in Cardiff was lacking a little bit of what we had in the Midlands.
All right.
I bought these decks and I started to buy vinyl records. All the boxes behind me are full of vinyl records. That's like a tiny percentage of my
Yeah.
10,000 records that I've got.
Jeez.
And so I started to do cassette tapes, because back then it was the old cassette tape. And I met a guy at a rave called Reese. He knew a guy called Peter that was very much involved down here in Cardiff, running early raves, and he introduced me and gave him the tape, and then he gave it to one of his business partners, Pablo, as well. And eventually they asked me to get involved with the new club that they were opening, which we'll talk about a little bit. And so yeah, it was kind of feet raving, got into this DJ thing, which, to be honest, I just thought, that's just going to be a bit of fun, but it went somewhere. So it was really, but I never planned for it. It just, kind of all just unfolded as these things do.
All right. So I had the same type of experience in my life, but a bit later, around the early 2000s. I was working at a telecom company during the day, and in the weekends I was also DJing as a resident DJ in one of the clubs, at first it was a hobby for me with the DJing. Then it took me to the Ministry of Sound in London to DJ at one of the parties, but I don't do that anymore because I don't have time. I really want to get back to it because I loved it, but yeah, I need to make some time for it. But so tell us about this hippo club, or how was it called? Yeah, it was the Hacienda of Wales.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
what makes it so legendary, and how did it feel? Just like I read that you were just 19 when you were warming up for DJ giants like Oakenfold and Sasha.
Exactly. Yeah. So basically, Peter was very connected back at that time. And so every Friday night would be big guest DJs. So as you just mentioned, from everyone from Sasha, David Morales, Todd Terry,
Wow.
Ben Vath, the biggest names still now, Jeff Mills in the techno scene, you name it, they played at the Hippo. So that was Friday nights, and me and a guy called Ollie were the residents. So we would be warming up for them or finishing off. At the time, when you're that age, you don't realize quite who these people are and how big they are. Some of them we certainly did, and we were a bit in awe of them. A lot of them we got to know over time, and we would party with them as well. And then on a Saturday night, it was always just me and Ollie. We would take the club on just ourselves, and another guy called Shane got involved. But it was a crazy time to be, playing alongside these guys. I look back now, and most of these guys these are the superstar DJs of today.
Yeah.
And I'm in a fortunate position that if I make a track these days, which I've started doing again, I can still get it to a lot of these guys, which is nice. So those old connections, some of them have remained. Some of them have kind of are more difficult to get to because you've got to go through layers of agencies and management and stuff like that. But some of them I've got direct contact into, which is really cool. But the Hippo, it was just, people still talk about it today. It was just in the UK, every major city had its own kind of hacienda, and the Hippo Club was the Cardiff one. So that's where the DJs would come to. It was a proper underground venue. It was capacity of 210. I saw sometimes 1,000 people in there, literally hanging off the ceiling. It was just a very basic room that over time, there was a guy called Chuck. He came in and he spray painted it all with amazing visuals, and it was all UV lights, basic lighting, amazing sound system, scaffolding kind of DJ booth, just a set of Technics decks, very basic mixer, but it was a mixer of the time, one DJ monitor. and it used to just rock. I mean, from the
That's all you
moment,
need.
from the moment people would come in to the end of the night and they would be screaming, one more, one more, one more. I look back and I kind of look at it like, did that really happen? It was just epic, and it was just at the right time, because that was when the rave scene was so massive. So I was lucky to be involved with just such a brilliant club.
Yeah, these are some great times, and it cannot be replicated nowadays. Things have changed now, and that scene doesn't exist anymore. And you were among the legends. You basically played with the legends, because I'm a huge fan of the State of Trance from Armin van Buuren, and yeah, there was one guest who was invited to the show, and he said that. We are lucky to be living with these legends, and you were lucky to like meet some of them, because it's similar to when people were living in back in the days and meeting Elvis, or I don't know, like
Yeah,
they are the same,
yeah.
some same level. So let's go back to your first cassette. So do you still remember the moment you handed your first cassette to Peter, and was it confidence, luck, or just like the pure rave spirit that got this collaboration going?
I think that I was nervous, actually. I found Peter a little bit intimidating, even though he wasn't. But I was only 19 and he's an older guy. So, and the way he looked, and he always used to wear these big coats and things, and the way his hair was, he was a typical nightclub manager of the time. So I was a little bit intimidated in a way. And I gave him the tape, and I'd given Pablo, his business partner, a cassette as well. And it was just a case of handing it to him and going, seeing what happened. And then he got in touch and said, I love the tape, and so did Pablo. I'd love the tape. I'd love you to get involved. Would you like to come and warm up? Would you like to come and be one of the DJs in the club? I'm building this new club, or well, I'm not building it, but I was taking over. He was taking over an old building to create the Hippo. He was already running something called the Hippo Club in another venue, but it was kind of a warm up thing. He had in his mind, he wanted his own venue. And when he was moving to that venue, he wanted to get me involved. But yeah, it was just a punt, do a tape. I was doing cassettes for my friends anyway. I was like the resident DJ in the halls of residence. So I lived in halls of residence with my friends. I was so lucky because in all the different corridors with the different students, for some reason, some power above had made our corridor the corridor where everyone was a raver. It was crazy. So
That's
no one
good.
was like, yeah, it was weird. Whereas in other corridors, everyone was just like kind of normal students, So, and we used to just all go out to the raves and do whatever. And I used to DJ in the halls of residence and stuff. So, yeah, I used to create these tapes. I've still probably got a copy of that tape knocking around somewhere. I'm moving house in a couple of months, and I've already started packing things. I've been finding boxes of old cassette tapes. So I've even found an old cassette player, and I need in the garage, and I need to kind of clean it up and fire it up and plug it into my mixer and fire some of these old tapes up, because I think it'd be good to digitize them, and put them online.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I just wonder how many of our listeners out there have ever held a cassette in their lifetime.
Exactly.
Because we get people from all around. So you also mentioned that you somehow qualified in podiatry. So how many warehouse raves did it took to get that diploma?
Oh my gosh. I mean, through that period, that was a 3-year degree. So imagine I was doing 2 raves a week. What's that? 52 weeks in a year. So I did 152 raves, 160 odd raves during my degree.
Wow, that's
Sometimes it was crazy though, because I would be partying all weekend and DJing, and then on a Monday morning, we'd be doing surgery. So I could be the person with a mask on and my hat and all my greens and operating on a foot, and while some lecturer was telling me what to do, and I'm sweating, and I'm still like, and I look back and think, oh my God, I'd been out partying all weekend, and on the Monday, poor old patient's got little old me dealing with some kind of toe condition.
Yeah, but it gives us energy. Some people don't know how the feeling is when you're behind the decks, and it certainly you can stay there until 6, 8 days
Easy.
It gives you a lot of energy, and it's not as exhausting as it seems, but in time it will kill you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the main thing. So you hit real heights, my friend, in the music world. You've been in the DJ Mag Top 100, the Global Underground features, Ministry of Sound finals. I mean, Ministry of Sound, I love it. So what was that roller coaster like, and when did it start to feel unsustainable, and you moved to doing different things as well?
Well, from 1992, literally until about 2003, once I'd done the degree, I kind of parked it. I gave my mum my degree scroll and said, there you go, I've done that. She thought the DJ thing was probably just a bit of a joke. So there was a television program at the time on MTV. Actually, no, I think it was on our channel ITV. It was late at night called Clubbervision, and I was on that TV show. So I showed her it. I put it on a VHS, another tape, showed it to her, and she kind of suddenly realized that the DJ thing was real, and I was actually getting somewhere. But I went from the Hippo Club to then starting to produce a lot of music. So you mentioned Global Underground. I got a track on Sasha, Global Underground 13. It's still recognized as probably the biggest ever Global Underground compilation. I got a track on Paul Van Dyke, Ministry of Sound, Politics of Dancing. I got on Hernan Cataneo, other albums and things. So I was writing music and getting picked up by all these things. I got into the top 100, DJ Magazine top 100, number 54 in the world, which today the DJ Mag Top 100 is still the go-to chart for the top DJs. So all these things were happening at the same time as me still running my own events as well. So I ran an event called Enter the Dragon, which was a big 2,000 capacity club event in Cardiff. Weekly, that was. Launched with Paul Oakenfold as well. But there was so much intensity because I was still young. So not only was I DJing and doing all this, I would come out of the club at 6 a.m. I would go to a party. Those parties were often in my house. Everyone would be there. I would leave. I would travel to my next gig. That could be abroad or it could be somewhere else in the country. I would do the gig and then I would travel back home. They'd still be partying in my house until maybe Monday or Tuesday, when people would fizzle away. Then I would be producing music. And then on Friday, it would start again. And that happened over and over and over and over again. And it got to a point where actually, as my career was really taking off, I might be flying to Hong Kong and then flying straight back or wherever, Helsinki, whatever it may be. I just hit a wall. I don't know what it was. I don't know why. I've also, besides this party head, I've got a very sensible head. I think that's why I managed to pass my degree. So I know where to draw the line with things. But I just hit this wall one day. And it was around that time that I kind of fell into gaming as well. So I think it's like, if you've ever watched the video on Avicii, he just went off the rails almost. I think I was getting to that point, but luckily I managed to step off the ship, which sometimes I wonder whether I should have. But anyway, that's but then again, I might not be here if I didn't,
Yeah, you'll be somewhere else.
Exactly.
All right, so this is actually my next question about if you ever wonder about what if, and if you would kept going at full speed, you'd be like another Sasha or just like totally burned out.
If I could have become more professional, looking back, and focused on the DJing and the music and stripped the partying bit out. The problem is when you're a DJ and you go to places, the promoters and everyone always kind of wants to then party with the DJ. And it was very easy for me to go, okay, let's go to the after party. I look back and I think if I could have stripped that bit out and focused on the DJing and the music, I'm pretty sure now that I would be touring, I would be on their kind of level, because I was really getting there. I was in the magazines. I was ticking all the boxes. And so, yeah, I do think that on one, it's kind of bittersweet. On one side, I might have saved my life, but on the other side, I might have killed my music career, which I so dearly loved. But of course, I'd rather be here than have burnt myself out. But I do think about it.
All right, that's good to know. And now let's talk about the gaming part of the things. So this is where things get wild, because I read that you invented a reaction time game at the party, right? So how do you go from international DJ to inventing such things? Was this like a eureka moment, or just like a really good night out, having fun, and wow, it hits you? Let's invent something new.
It was probably that. It was in a party, believe it or not. There we go again. I don't know why it came about, but all I remember is that at this party, I came up with this idea in my head. Oh, wow. You know, these games where you can play Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, etc., on a touchscreen in a pub. Maybe if we create some kind of a reaction time game, we'll make loads of money, because obviously when people are in a pub or a bar, they're drinking, so their reaction times go down, and so the game will make lots of money. That was my thinking behind it. And then it was like, how could we turn that into a game? And I thought, oh, it could be, I was into cars. I've always been into racing cars and supercars as well. So I thought maybe it could be like a quarter mile game with like a dragster, where basically there's some traffic lights. And because these screens, you could only, at the time, you could only touch the screen. There's no controls. It's one touch.
Yeah.
So what would happen is you're in the car, the traffic light would change. When it goes to green, you hit the screen. The closer to the green light, there's a reaction time obviously there. If you go ahead of the green light, the game would go, you know, you were ahead of you jump started. And then you'd have the gear changes. So you'd have the various gear changes. So the rev counter would go up, and getting the optimum gear changes, the faster the car would go. So you'd do a faster quarter mile. How I came up with all this, I don't know. I wrote it down on a piece of paper. I put it in my pocket. A few days later, they come after this, I find this piece of paper with this game. I thought, oh, that was quite interesting. And I had an accountant at the time, completely straight, completely normal guy, professional accountant. And I said to him, what do you think to this game idea I've had? And he said, oh, I've got a client that makes games. You two should meet. And I was like, okay. So I met this guy called Hugh, and he was the CTO of a company called Coinmaster that made fruit machine games and quiz machine games, which was exactly the right kind of machines, in Cardiff. And we just hit it off, and we just kind of he went, yeah, I could make this. He's a coder. That's what he does. He's like a Jedi coder. He can code in just about any language. And we're very different people. You know, he's never been to a rave in his life, but we just gelled, as two people. And so, yeah, we set up a business, and we got some investment as well. And I put some money in as well. And we created the game, and we went from there. And and I went out and did the business side, and I signed a contract with the company running Itbox, which was 7,500 machines, and Games Tech that was running about the same. So we got it deployed onto 15,000 games machines. Even though the game actually, in the end, it wasn't a particular success, but it got me into gaming. It was like it's just got me into something different, and we, it was like this funny little thing that stepped me over into another world.
Yeah, it's the next chapter, and then even though it wasn't a hit, it definitely was a new chapter since what I've read about you. So what made you believe in that first idea enough to chase it? Because this is something that people should be paying attention to, because everybody gets an idea at a certain point in life, but if you chase it or not, that's the step you need to take. So what made you believe in it?
I think the fact that I just thought it was a great idea, for starters. People getting drunk in a bar, reaction times are going to go down. We can make some money from this. But also, I think the time of my life looking for something else from the dance music. I didn't want to go back into podiatry. So I was kind of thinking, well, where can I go with my life? So it was a timing thing as well. when I then contacted the various games companies with the distribution networks, they thought it was a good idea as well. They liked it. They gave us some figures on, what the highest performers would do down to the lowest performers. And even the kind of lowest performers on these machines would generate enough money that we would be able to then probably go from there. So from a business standpoint, we had enough about us to think, okay, we might not be able to make a top game, but we don't know, but it might still make us something. What was really bad, though, was these games machines at the time, you could have 50 games on them.
Yeah.
As we deployed the games to these networks, both networks reduced the number of games on them to 20 games. So we went live, we rolled out, and we were something like number 23 or number 24, and we got culled. It was that close. And even at that level, we would have continued to make some cash, but we got culled from the machines. So it was like, we got to all this, and that's why in the end it didn't work. So the game kind of worked, but it was just a change in the strategy of these games companies. So that killed us.
All right. So how did the partnership with your current game developer start, and what kept the collaboration going for all these years?
Well, we went from, so Hugh, that person, he's the CTO of the company now still. So we've
all right. So it's still the same
guy. Yeah.
All right. That's good.
Same guy, yeah. So we went from there. We started to do some other games. I also started to see what else I could do within gaming, and I got a consultancy job for a company called Phantom Fiber at the time. They were creating a mobile app, a very early mobile app, which extended sports books onto a mobile device. And also it had things like very early live streaming of horse racing events on a mobile. There was a company in London which was doing a similar thing. I think they were called M-Fuse, I think, and we were the competitor, which was based in Canada. I can't remember how that partnership came about, but I was kind of based here in the UK. So while I was still making games with Hugh, I was doing something else in gaming for that particular company as well. So I was getting even deeper into gaming. With Hugh, it's just been a case of we've always got on with each other. We've always come up with ideas. He's a super brain. He's a someone that's always been able to come up with game ideas. If you said to him now, within an hour, I want you to come up with 3 brand new game ideas for table games, I guarantee you he would come up with 3 brand new table game ideas. He just can do it. He wouldn't just come up with the idea, he'd come up with the maths, and he'd come up with how it's going to look and everything. So we just started to then, build slots, started to build other games. I met another guy. The funny thing was, I was in Barcelona at a gaming show, something like, I don't know, whatever it was, IGB, whatever. And I was doing a demo of the mobile app that I was selling. And a guy behind me afterwards said, "Oh, that's really weird. We don't know each other, but I'm also selling this same mobile app. I'm working for the same company." And we weren't aware of each other. So we got talking, and then he said, "I know a big company that wants to set up a game studio. They want to invest in a game studio." Now, Hugh and I had already created a bit of technology. He had this contact. He went to that contact. They said, "Okay, we're going to have to invest some money. Let's start a new co. We want some mini games for our business." So then the 3 of us came together, and it's still the 3 of us all these years later. So we created mini games for this particular company. Again, that didn't particularly work out for weird reasons. The CEO at the time really saw a great vision in us. He wanted us to work, but then he kind of, I don't know whether he was kicked out of the company or he left or whatever, but the new CEO came in and he had a different vision. So things just didn't pan out there, as they do. That's just business. It's just the way it goes. But again, we started to make more games. And then all these years later, we've got 140 games. We've got an RGS. We've got a tournament system. We've got virtual sports. It's what we do. So it just carried on going.
All right. So concept gaming, right? So you say that it's unlike anything in iGaming, right? So what makes it so different?
Well, it's our tournament system, I think.
Okay.
So that's what really differentiates us. I don't want to give away the farm by telling everyone what it does, because what I've noticed is people do like to
Copy.
exactly. So we got to be a little bit careful. But what I see is tournaments, when they're played usually on slots, etc., like that at the moment, are typically based around real revenue. So the players that deposit more and turn over more will gravitate up the leaderboard. Well, that's not very fair, is it? If it's all about spending more money to get yourself up the leaderboard, that's not a level playing field. So we created a tournament system which is fair for all. And it enables you to run free-to-play tournaments as well, which is awesome for acquisition and for reactivation of databases and retention. You can mix that with paid elements. You can run paid tournaments. These are blackjack, these are slots, these are roulette. We've created a fantastic sports tournament system where you can mix and match various sports over, for example, a 7-day period and bet on the various sports, and then the tournament will unfold over a week. No one's created anything like this. There's nothing out there. I know, because I've demoed it to some major operators, and they're all kind of going, wow, this is different. So that's what differentiates us. Okay, so we produce slots, we produce table games, but so do 300 game studios these days. Most of them are just banging out slots constantly. But the tournament system is where we are really different. And there's so many things within it as well. You could run VIP hidden tournaments. You can, there's just so much depth to it. It's a marketing tool, but it's a revenue generating tool as well. So that combined with all the games, that's what really makes us as a small game studio different. And the fact that we're a small team as well. We're a tiny little team. I see all these game studios and they go, oh, we've got 100 people. And I think, what are they all doing? Really? And we're this tiny little team, and we've created all this stuff. Sometimes we have a meeting with operators and they'll go, how many people are you? And we'll go, 8. And they say, what? You've created 140 games, an RGS, a tournament system, all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, because we're passionate, we're well managed, we all juggle many balls and stuff. So I think that's why concept gaming and what we do is different.
Yeah, that's what makes a difference. And we had some slots providers here, and you will find that there are some that are as small as you guys, and they do have also the same passion. And it's good to see that, because maybe in 100 people that passion will get lost. Let's also touch base on gamification, because this tournament thing could be called some sort of gamification, and nowadays it's trending. I mean, of course, in the past, maybe 5-6 years has been trending. Everything is gamified. So what's broken in iGaming today in terms of gamification, and how are you trying to fix this?
I had some quite strong opinions around this for a little while, thinking gamification was just for kids. And obviously gambling is not for kids. For me, winning a little gold trophy or whatever it may be, I don't want to win that. What do I want to win a little gold trophy for on a screen? It's like, yeah, my daughter wants to win that on Roblox, but I don't want to win that. Having said that, I've looked into gamification more and more, and there are some good systems out there, and it's working. So I can't sit here and say it's rubbish, it doesn't work, because obviously it does work for some companies. I think Soft2Bet, I think they have a really good, from what I gather, gamification system, and it's working for them. So maybe I thought it was a bit broken, but actually I think I'm wrong about that. And our tournament system, I suppose, in a way, is another gamification tool, like you say. Yeah. But this is more of you get onto a leaderboard and you can win actual cash prizes. Or that could be extended. We're talking to some operators about potentially just changing that to provide tangible prizes, real prizes. Could it be a car? Could it be an iPhone? Could it be whatever on the leaderboard instead? So I suppose it's all interconnected. And as long as it gives the player something interesting keeps them returning, keeps them sticky on the site, that kind of thing. And it's fair as well. I like things to be fair. Something that I definitely think is broken is the fact that so many casinos still are all about free spins, free spins, free spins, free spins. That's all they do is just give out free spins. You know, you've only got to click on one advert on a social media for a big operator, and suddenly you're getting bombarded with 150 free spins. And I just think, and then you read the small print, you get your 150 free spins, but if you win anything, it will be capped at a tiny amount, and you may have to then make a deposit to get that money out. And I look at all these things and think, come on, guys, let's be more innovative now than just giving away free spins. So I think that bit is broken. And that's where probably gamification, our tournament system, things like that can be more innovative and fairer to the player as well.
All right. So you, for a while, completely shut out music, right? Then got back to it. And what triggered that full stop, and why? And maybe what was finally the fire that brought it back? Because I'm interested in this as well.
Okay. Well, without a doubt, as we've already touched on, what stopped it was the burnout, I think. And so that was just like, and the fact that I came up with this game idea. So everything just went on a halt. For years, I never even put a record on. I'm sitting next to a set of 1210s right here next to me, all my DJ stuff. You know, these are the original 1210s that some of the biggest DJs in the world have played as well. And I never even touched a vinyl record again. But I kept them all. I never got rid of them, thankfully. But then several years later, a good friend of mine, he said to me, come on, Jim, it's inside you. You need to do it. I found a venue. It's a bank vault underneath an old bank. We can run some raves there. They're already running some raves there. And I was like, no, I'm not interested, not interested. He said, just come and have a look. So we went to this place and they were running some raves down there and they were really good. But we thought we could probably do it in a different way. And the owner had some problem with those particular people or something, I don't know. So before I knew it, of course, we came up with something. So this bank's an old NatWest bank, amazing old bank. This bank is where I think the first £1 million check was cashed in the world in the early 1900s. And underneath it was this amazing vault, which you could walk through. Still got the vault door, still got all the vault stuff. So we came up with a hashtag Rave in a bank vault, and we called it Cellador. And we put an incredible sound system in there, a thing called a void sound system. We put some minimal but intense lighting, some lasers, and we launched it. And we launched it without any big name DJs. It was purely launched on the fact it was hashtag Rave in a bank vault. I was the DJ, Matt was the DJ, and we used the best local DJs. And every month we would rotate them. And it was all marketed about the party, not about the name on the artwork, which is often the way. And we just got it right at the time. This was in 2010. And we were doing around about 600 people once a month, Rave in a bank vault. They'd all pay their £10. They'd all come in, and it was like the closest thing to going back to the early 90s again. It pulled an older crowd. It also pulled a student crowd, and it was a great mix of people. And they came together to party properly. And we ran that for 8 years until, with the owner, we just kind of parted company, as things do after a time. And then Matt, my business partner in that, he was having more children, and I was having to focus more on my gaming stuff, and I'd had a daughter as well. And so life just kind of, again, got in the way from us doing that stuff. But it reignited the fire. And then COVID came around, and I started to think, maybe I could make a few tracks. So I did a few tracks. I parked them. And then early last year, a friend of mine that we hadn't kind of our paths had not crossed since the 90s, we just crossed paths again. And he's a record producer, and he produces for John Digweed's label, Bedrock. Oh, wow. Last Night on Earth, Sasha's label, Mango Alley, Balance. He's like on the way up. He's also based in South Wales. He's just done an Argentinian and a Brazilian tour. and he heard the tracks. I played him the tracks, and he went, "This is awesome. This is an album." So I sent him the tracks, and then he's had added his flavor to the tracks. Then he was in South America, and he came across a guy there that's got this incredible studio full of the old synthesizers, all the best old synths. He's come onto the project. He's now adding to the tracks and reworking some of the tracks. So it's a real collaboration project. And sometime maybe this year, we'll be looking to push this album out to the biggest DJs. We'll just push it out to a few, and we'll see what happens. And then we'll hopefully get it signed, and we'll launch it. And yeah, that's led to, I mean, this year I've released 5 records on different labels.
Wow.
And that's stuff that I did last year before my life went into turmoil in the last couple of months. So yeah, I've been releasing tracks on a regular basis as well. And it's a hobby these days. It's not like it was. I do it purely as a way to let off some steam and just focus on the gaming. That's the stuff that makes my brain kind of go, make music to release as well. So,
All right.
you know, got both things.
So yeah, I guess that's why I do sports. I do running and cycling. I do duathlon. So probably if I could not be doing duathlon, then I would be getting back to music as well. So yeah, this is a great story. And you got new tracks dropping every few weeks. That's also good to hear. And also we read that a remix hit the 4th place on Beatport.
Yep.
And you have the full album in works with Aubrey Fry. So how does it feel doing it now, as you said, with a passion, not as a job?
I think the freedom, the fact that I do it from a passionate point of view rather than the pressure, has made me, it makes me produce better music now, because I feel more free. And I can switch everything on, all the equipment. And if something comes out, great. And if something doesn't come out that day, doesn't matter, because that's the way of producing music. Sometimes it just comes from within, and everything just flows, and other times it doesn't. So when it does come together, it's amazing. I mean, I've got these incredible speakers here, and a massive sub, and everything's just done. It's like it's like I'm in a club, and I crank it up. Luckily, I've got no neighbors like nearby to kind of me do their heads in. But when a track comes together and I really feel it, it's amazing. And when I send that track out to Hernan Cataneo, who's one of the biggest in the world, or Anthony Papa or Danny Howells or whoever it may be, and then it comes back and they write back, Jim, this is awesome. I'm playing this out. And then I see a video of it being played to 10,000 people in a festival. It's just the most uplifting feeling to actually think, wow, that's something I did in my little studio at home, and now all these people are enjoying it. And there's no feeling like it. It's a wonderful thing. So yeah, it feels great. It feels great to do it again.
All right. So we also read that the Enter the Dragon is back as well. So bigger than ever, and now tailored to grown-ups. And I mean, grown-up ravers with day parties. So what's it like seeing a scene you helped build still thriving after decades?
It's amazing. I mean, we did a reunion of Enter the Dragon 3 years ago, and we thought, let's go for it. It's 22 years since we were doing Enter the Dragon. Let's give it a shot. So we booked a guy called Mauro Picotto. He's, again, massive DJ, friend of ours, and a guy called Fergie that's a resident out in Omnia in Vegas, again, friend of ours. These guys were superstar DJs back then. They both straight away went, I'll be there. We did 1,000 people on the first event, just like that. Average age, 50 years old, but it starts at 3 PM and finishes at 10:30 at night. So they can still peel the spuds and do a roast chicken on So it's great. It just works. And trust me, these 50-year-olds get on that dance floor and they go for it just like they did all these years ago. It's amazing. I play the trance from back then, interspersed with a few new tracks as well. I try and keep it fresh still. Then the second year, so last year we had Giuseppe Ottaviani. So you mentioned State.
Oh, wow.
So he came and played for us, Factor B. So they were the two headliners. Again, that was we went for a more underground nightclub this time, and then in the underneath part, it was all hard house because they like it really hard down here in South Wales as well. And then this year, and so that was amazing, and it's great to meet Gio and Factor B. And then this year, in 3 weeks, I got Ferry Corsten. So Ferry's going to be coming over from Amsterdam, State of Trance again, one of the biggest DJs in the world. He's headlining, he's playing 3 hours. This will be an intimate gig. We'll have probably around about 900 people there. Very intimate. Literally, Ferry's just in front of the crowd. I'll warm up before him. I got 2 other, in fact, Aubrey's playing as well. I got another guy called Sean Furlong, brilliant local DJ before. And then again, underneath in the other room, a local UK superstar DJ called Anne Savage is playing, that used to play for us. And again, brilliant local DJs. And they will come out and they will come flying. And then at the end, because it's our 25th anniversary, we're doing another one in November as well. We've decided to do 2 this year.
All right.
Just signed our headliner for that. And you mentioned A State of Trance again. And I'm not going to say who it is because we're not going to deploy who till the Ferry gig. But it's another big A State of Trance, one of those big DJs. This is a very current one, though. Never played in Wales. And we're really excited about that, plus a bunch of others. So it's super exciting to be doing these things again. But I could only do it once or twice a year because, trust me, it's I need to focus on the real stuff as well, the gaming stuff.
Yeah, the UK is being hit hard with electronic music this year. State of Trance having the London July. And Giuseppe Ottaviani, he just launched his project, the Autogone, with the
8 keyboards.
Jesus.
I was talking to him about it beforehand because I was saying to him, what's going to happen if something goes down and what kind of redundancy we have in place and all this. So we had a really good chat about all the systems and everything. He was a great guy as well, really lovely guy. It's nice to meet these people when they're like this because believe me, I've met some total arseholes in dance music as well. Well, I have in gaming as well. But sometimes you do meet some really good people. And him, Factor B's just released his album. He lost his partner during the production of the album. And he was a lovely Australian guy, massive, playing all the big festivals. So yeah, these are good, proper trance people, and it's it's great. I love it.
All right. So if you could go back in time to your 19-year-old self DJing at the Hippo, what would be that one piece of advice that you would give?
To enjoy myself and to do what I did, but probably to, when my career actually was on there, to focus on that part and not on the party part. I think that's what I would do. Take the accelerator off, the after party, and focus on the professional side. Then I'd probably have stuck with it. That's the advice, without a doubt.
All right. So now that we travel back to time, let's travel to the future, because that's what we like to do here. So you're now seeking investment or a strategic partnership to take concept gaming to the next level, right? So what kind of partner or investor are you looking for, and what's the vision? Because I hopefully that one of our good friends, a huge investor, is listening, and maybe he would like to get an introduction.
Sure. Well, we're talking to a few operators, investment companies, various different companies in iGaming at the moment. Ideally, a strategic partner that could bring further distribution, obviously money to the table for equity in the business. We've invested a few million ourselves into what we've built over the years. We're ready to go to the next step. The tournament system alone, without the games, for someone, it could be such a unique differentiator for their business. It could be a massive operator that has our tournament system, and then everyone else is going to want to do the same. So we're talking to a few operators. I suppose I draw a parallel in a way to what the brilliant Carolina Pelt did with Beyond Play. So she came up with a fantastic idea around her jackpot system and her multiplayer system. And then she's obviously managed to get that into FanDuel, who have invested. And I think that's kind of where we could be. And we've got some really interesting discussions underway at the moment. I'm quite excited about it. I'm hoping we get to a point where these guys are almost having to bid for this thing, because some have actually come to us and gone, well, what about exclusive? What about if we acquire you just to be an internal game studio so you can bring the tournament system in and then we can adapt it together to do X, Y, and Z. I won't say what X, Y, and Z is because that's between us and them. And these are the kind of discussions we're having. So we're in I think in a good place at the moment. And so hopefully by the end of this year, we might have found that perfect strategic partner. They don't have to bring distribution, but if they can bring some doors to open as well, that obviously accelerates things, because if we can deploy all our games and the tournament system and they've got tons of distribution already, it's going to be such an easy win for an investor. They can just come in, put a bit of money in, help us expand the team, and it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, otherwise we just invest our money in that fund that guy is launched on LinkedIn, that he wants to buy Bet365 with 10 billion, and he's looking for people to pitch in. So
I just saw that myself this morning. Exactly. Yeah.
That's an interesting thing. So you lived in two full creative lives, music and gaming, and you're still doing it. And kudos to you, my friend. So do they feed each other in terms of creativity, and or do they feel like completely separate universes?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think they feel pretty separate. Obviously, they're both very creative, because I'm creating something and an end product in terms of I'm creating music and I'm creating games and software. But there is quite a defined line between the two as well. And I almost want to keep that to a certain point. Having said that, I was talking to one of the big iGaming event producers before COVID, and I said to them that I think that there was room within gaming to bring rave into it of some sort, dance music.
They started doing that, as you've seen.
Exactly. And I've been to a few of these things. Now, maybe it's because I've ran so many events myself, probably about 1,000 of them, that at the moment they're a bit lacking for me. But that's probably because I'm a bit anal when it comes to dance music events, and I've seen so many. The sound systems so far have been pretty shit. The lighting and production, the DJs don't seem to, it seems a bit cheesy often. I think things could be done on a better level. You could almost do two. You could almost aim for the older crowd in gaming in the day. You could go with the daytime concept.
Yeah. And
you could also then go with a nighttime concept for maybe a lot of young people in gaming as well, Of course, they can go to either. It doesn't matter. But I see people trying to do it, and that's great, because you can't knock people for trying anything at all, and everyone's got to start somewhere. But it's things like musical progression. So for me, a dance event should be when you walk in, the sound system is a little bit quieter, the music is a bit more gentle, and the event builds to a crescendo through the event. That's how it should be. I've walked into so many after, I've been in a conference in the day, and then I've walked into an event at night, and it's like, oh my God, and I think this is just horrific. I need to go. This is not for me. It needs to be thought through, things like that. And that only comes from experience of obviously being involved with these things. So I'd like to see a little bit more of that. And of course, if there's anyone out there that wants someone to consult or get involved on their parties to maybe try and polish them a little bit, I might be able to bring something to the table because I've got the experience to do it. But yeah, I think that's it really around that. It's just a little bit of dance music, and the two things are separate, but I think that you could combine that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but just to let you know that the guys who are hosting these conferences and having those parties are our listeners, even though they don't admit it. They listen to our podcast, so it's good to know. And by the way, we also host conferences, but we host a boutique style up to 300 people. And in 2022, we started hosting the evening social gatherings in jazz blues clubs, because you cannot go all trance on maybe 150 people after the conference. So we've seen the reaction, and some of them of course are complaining about the trance at the big conferences, but that's not just their style. That's the one problem. But it's good to see that they brought. I saw Benny Benassi.
And it doesn't just have to be trance. Obviously, dance music is multi-genre. So, on the early part of the night, it could be just lovely house music and the Ibiza kind of stuff. I went to Ibiza with my partner last year. It was the first time she'd ever been to Ibiza, believe it or not. I've been God knows how many times. And we were just dancing on a beach to great house music. So it doesn't have to be bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
Be funky. It can be,
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with jazz and blues. I mean, I went to New Orleans to Bourbon Street and soaked up the jazz and blues. And so that's a good sound. I love all kinds of music. I went to the Foo Fighters last year here in the Millennium Stadium and was in the pit at the front, and so good music's good music. But
exactly, that's one interesting thing that I noticed over the years, that people sometimes cannot understand that you can listen to all types of music and like all of them, and just like be into and even with the creativity, I always listen to trance in the office, even sometimes very loud. But that's when I'm creative, and some people say that how can you be creative listening to like electro or trance? Hey man, that's my vibe. So my trick question, like a curveball to you, about what excites you most nowadays? The next track you're going to release or the next game you're going to launch?
The investment into the business. It's got to be, because I see a vision for where we are and where we can go, and we can send this thing up like a SpaceX rocket. So that definitely excites me. I know within me and my team know, our team, that what we've created is something epic. And someone out there in iGaming, a big player, is going to also recognize that. Some of them, as I mentioned, are, and that's getting exciting. But also, every time I release a new track, that's exciting too, because it flies out into the world. So what's it going to do? Where's it going to go? This new release I've got out at the moment called Axis EP on a record label called Rhythm Cult. It's actually one of the deeper things I've done. I did it this year. It's the last track I've done. And I've done it because I've had quite a reflective mind over the last few months with everything going on. And it's doing really, really well. A lot of DJs playing it. So I get excited about that. So it's difficult to kind of, say one or the other. The professional in me, though, kind of says it's got to be the gaming thing, because ultimately, if I can send that business to the stratosphere over the next 5 years or whatever, and with a big investor then go to an exit for 100 million or whatever it may be, I can sit and make as much dance music as I want for the rest of my life.
Exactly.
I'll sit on the beach on a laptop with a nice set of headphones on, and I'll just make dance music for the rest of my life, So it excites me because that could also allow me to have the freedom to do that. So, it's all exciting. Life is exciting. Yep. I've certainly learned that over the last few weeks.
Yeah, and I personally wish you all the best with it, and we'll keep track of this, and we'll be watching your career onto the next level. And my friend, you already reached a high level which some might just dream of. So my last question would be about if your life had a soundtrack, what would be the opening track for it?
Oh, okay. Wow. When you've got as many records as I have to pinpoint one, but I can. And even though usually this wouldn't be an opening track because it's actually a bit more upbeat. So if it was an opening track, I would choose a lower tempo, gentler track. But as I can only pick one, it would be a track called by Agnelli and Nelson called Every Day on Extravaganza Records.
All right.
Reason is because that track was our club anthem at Enter the Dragon. And when that track is played, the place goes to the moon and it will lift. And when I play that at the end of the month, it is like nothing else on the planet. Everything else in life goes out the window. The club will come together. Everyone's hands will be in there. Everyone will be singing it. And yeah, we would play that every single week. So it would have to be that particular track. And the funny thing was, the producer from that came and DJ'd for me once. And back to parties, he missed his flight the next day.
That's what you do.
Exactly.
That's what you do. All right. So, Jim, it has been a delight, an absolute honor to have you here. I hope you had a good time as well, because I certainly did.
Yeah,
And,
nice just to actually, for the first time ever, talk about gaming and my DJing music together, because I've never done that. I've never done anything like this in gaming. I've done lots of interviews in dance music, and I've been in lots of magazines and various things back in the day. So this is a real first for me as well. So I've enjoyed actually putting the two together for the first time.
all right, good to know. And I hope that our audience has also enjoyed it. Make sure to reach out to Jim. You will definitely find him online. And yeah, take care, good care everyone, and we will be back next week with more crazy stuff. So take good care everyone. Bye, Jim.
Cheers, bye-bye.
And that's a wrap for this section of Hipther Talks. Thank you for being a part of our journey today. Don't forget to tune in next week for more insights and discussions. Stay connected with us on Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and more. Until then, keep exploring and keep growing. We'll see you next time.